Hello and welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to have a look at some of these products that have been sent by FC Model Tips, and these are all 3D printed accessories, or even in some cases kits like this is. So we're going to have a look at what we got here and see what the detail looks like. Apologies for the glare, that's why we're going to get on to the next part of the video. If we have a look at what we got here, first off, I did reach out to this company and explained what we do on the channel and some of the things I'd be interested in. I must say that what they've sent is almost irrelevant to what I asked about, so it's actually quite difficult to go any further than this, because I'm not going to be building anything that these accessories are for, so therefore I can't use them. I'm not just going to build them for the sake of it, but we'll have a look at them and do a review and have to go from there. But what I know them for is they do a number of 3D printed accessories, even full conversion sets in resin, even up into the 1/16 scale for armour, mostly armour. I must admit I haven't seen anything regarding aircraft. They do a number of subjects relating to the Spanish Civil War as well, because I believe it's a Spanish company. So I obviously asked for some German stuff and some of the things that we build, but we haven't got any of that. So what we've got here is 1/35 wheels for a Land Rover 88 2A, which I have no idea what that is. I can't even visualise anything other than a Discovery or something like that. We've got a Cushman 53, again, not really sure what this is. There's no instructions. Presumably you'd have a look on their website. I initially thought this might have been the little bike that the paratroopers used, but it isn't. So there we are. I'll have to I'll have to look it up. So let's just get all the bits out of this glary packaging so we can see what we've actually got then. So there's the wheels for Land Rover. I mean, we've got Ukrainian tank crew in 1/72nd, and we've got T-72 lights in 1/35 scale. The Ukrainian figure set 1, which is different to this one, which is figure set 2, and this is in 35th scale. No, they're Ukrainian soldiers, right? Okay, that makes sense. Then we've got a World War II subject, Australian Jeep crew from World War II. So there we are. And then we've got a full kit. Now, they do a number of interesting Spanish Civil War subjects, which this is one of, but I've already got one of these by a different company. And I think there was only 6 made, so I'm going to be, coming up to 2/3 of the whole production run here with these two. So this is a Trubia Naval. This is a full kit. And these are the instructions. So what you've got here is a little bit of information. So it's a Trubia Naval. This is it's a Lancia tractor. Not like I can read Spanish, but it's one of these made tanks. It's basically putting armour around the running gear of a tractor that's available, and then sticking some guns in it. And in this case, it had 2 7mm Lewis guns, really. Now, what the kit has got is the 2 guns, one in the turret, one not. And then we've got these bits are obviously separate, and then these are the larger parts. Now, this is going to be very much like the one I've already got, although this does break down a little bit more. So what you get is a big piece of resin like this, which is for the running gear, and then you've got the mud guards that go over like that, and then you've got another 2 big pieces. So this is a kit, but this is the way they do it. You kind of just chuck the bits on like this, and you do sometimes get a bit of warping, which I think is happening here, but it's quite subtle. So I mean, super glue would handle that. You could just glue that end and then pull that end in. But again, with warm water, you should be able to sort that. Let's just have a look. I can't actually see that it is warped. Maybe it is just a little bit curving up at both ends. It might be that this bit, yeah, there you go, that's where it is. So it's on there. So what you'd want to do is just take the middle down in this instance to stop this. There's obviously a ridge in the middle, so you want that to be flat. So you get those two bits on, you cut this off, and then that goes on and under there as well. This is general cleanup as far as resin's concerned. I personally would run a knife blade. In fact, you can have a look at doing it. So I would run a knife blade down like that 2 or 3 times just to score it. Do the same here. And then if you've got a razor saw, you can get in there and just try and slice that off. You do it all very carefully. You use water, warm water as well. And if you make all the tools you're using wet, you reduce the dust. And then when you've got that, you just sand it back again. If you do wet sanding, it's much better. And then you can glue your parts on. So this makes up the tank. Is 5 bits. The only thing I was slightly questioning is this drops into a recess. And I'm not so sure that's how it worked for this tank, although I don't know. I can't be sure, because there's only about 5 photos of it, but I always thought it sat on the top and turned like that. But you know, I don't imagine that's much of a major issue, because even if it is, you could just put a plate on the bottom. That obviously needs a little bit of sanding. It's a very tight fit, very tight, because now I've got it stuck in there. Now what I have to do, as I said, I've already got one of these. What I have to do is compare this to the other kit that's available. It is a bizarre world where before 2020 we didn't have the likelihood of any of these being available, and now there's 2. So this is from Resin Lab, also in Spain. Funny that. And this is something I've just put on a little base, just to give you scale. That is the size of a figure. So it's a very small thing. Now this here has got the slightly different turret, like I was saying, in the fact that it's the same size, but it's designed differently. It's meant to sit on the top. This was all one piece. Well, actually, this was like that. So this was exactly the same. This went in up there, but the hole was already attached to the fenders, so that's a difference. As far as scaling's concerned, they look more or less the same size. I would say, detail-wise, there's not a lot in it. With FC Modeltrend being ever so slightly better as far as the moulded on detail, but I would say the surface texture and the finesse of the moulding process, this being 3D moulded, or it might be that it's cast resin from a 3D designed piece, I'd say that the FC model one actually has a few more defects. And interestingly, it's a solid piece of resin, so there's an awful lot of resin there that may somewhat contribute to the cost of this being solid. Now the Trubia, there's a little badge there saying Trubia. That's better. All of these finessed small details are better, but when you look at these fans here, if you compare them to this, you know, this is almost simplified. They're flat rather than being angled out. They should be like this, angled out. These are flat, and they're not hollow either. So just little things like that. I think what it will actually boil down to is, if you wanted a Trubia Naval, you pick the one that's most readily available. There's sort of like a ridging. I mean, a little bit of sanding gets rid of that. The small parts here are in clear resin. They look absolutely fine to me. And that's what you get in the Trubia Naval kit. So So, next up, it's worth getting into what's probably most relevant, because there's not going to be many people that are interested in grabbing a Trubia Naval. Oh, what I was meant to say is there's lights on the turret. With this kit, they're clear resin pieces, you can see there on the sides of the turret, and on the FC model they're moulded as part of it. So what we got here is, let's look at the Ukrainian Soldiers 2022. So there's the two lads. Now we've got all of this here are just supports to help with the moulding. Now I was told that warm water can help getting rid of these, so I'm going to do this one without, and then if we have any issues we can use warm water on the next one. So I'm just, as you can see, not just breaking off any that I can by hand, and you can also come in and cut them with your sprue clippers as well. If you've actually taken some out, it might be worth just getting rid of the whole support to make everything easier to see, like that, and then we should be able to just wiggle that. And it's just a case of working your way in, but making sure you don't cut through any of the actual parts of the model. You can also go at it higher up. Again, it's just sort of clearing, working down. Once you've got one out of the way, they are flicking all over the place. It's really about being able to get in there. Now that gun is very fine looking, so we're trying to avoid any damage there. Like I said, if you are attempting this and there are any issues, using warm water just to warm the resin up is seems to be a way of making it easier. I guess it makes the resin a bit more brittle, or to break off easier. There we go. That's it. So now we can see what it is we have. So that gun, I mean, that's just I'm sure I'd break that off if I was painting this figure up. But you can see the detail there. If you look at the sling around the gun, very nice. That actually is a support in there. And there it is, I've broken the gun and I wasn't even meaning to touch it. But it is resin, so I mean, super glue right at the end, and it should go straight back as it was. But that's one of the problems with delicate stuff. You do have to be careful when it sticks out like that. But again, what else can you have done? I mean, you could have maybe done it as a separate mould and slided it in at the end, but it's, you know, it's difficult either way. The finesse around this jacket here, very, very nice. Good detail, very good detail on the face. It's got the chin straps for the helmet. Was excellent. Really nice detail on the figures. We've got another chap there as well. Let's just see what he is for completeness. Seems to have a rocket launcher there. Probably something to do an anti-tank. There we go, again, very nice figure, well done. Nice relaxed poses, and that's the two sets there on 135th. To be slightly different, we've got some clear resin here, and that looks very nice, and the clear is obviously for the lensing. So in the centre you've got an actual cover there, which goes inside the light. There's 4 shown on there, but there's just 2 lights. I don't know how many there is. I know nothing about a T-72. So I guess that's the front 2 lights. So there we are. Can't see any defects with that. Looks very delicate, so it's one of those just to be careful with. We've got the Australian tank crew. No, we don't. Jeep crew from the Second World War. Let's have a look at this guy who looks one of the better poses. Now it looks to me as if some of this resin hasn't set in, it seems wet. I don't know if I've got anything on there, but in and around the face here it's shiny and there's a support that isn't really well formed. Now it did say something like that, and it was put it in UV, so put it in the sunlight to try and make it set a bit better. This is me breaking the hat, getting it off, so you just need to be very careful, more careful than I am. So I would suggest going around getting those bits around the very delicate hat. Right, and that's gone a lot better. We've got the hat out now, and then you can clean up from here. It is amazing how fine that hat is, the brim of the hat around the edge. I can imagine that would be difficult to do in any other moulding process, resin, or certainly in plastic. You're not going to get anything quite like that. The face looks pretty good. They're not quite as detailed as the ones before, but that's probably relating to the hat and it being difficult to get in there and put the last amount of detail in. But the folds and everything look very good. I can't see any layer lines. No ridges, no defects. They all look very good. I'm sure they paint up very nicely. And then the 72nd crew, tank crew, these look very good as well. Especially for the scale, really nice detail. Yeah, exceptional detail there. If you're into 1/72. Very nice to get a set of figures specifically for a conflict or a tank like these are. So well worth checking out. Then we got the resin wheels for the Land Rover. So what can we get? Let's just get that one off. So we can get in there now. Now these supports seem to have gone all as one, like a thick blob. Now I don't know what kit these are for. Like I said, I know nothing about the Land Rover. It's not on my radar. So I wouldn't know what kit they're designed for and how they would fit. But that's the general cleanup. So there's no. So this is a spare tyre. I see. They're the hubs. This is a spare tyre. So get that just to show the hub detail as well. There is no sidewall detail. So there's no maker's mark or anything like that. No printing around the edge. The tread is there. There is a tread. It's very fine. It's like a sort of zigzag pattern. I don't know if I can show that on camera, but it is there. And the mounting point is that. Just a hole. So there we are. Not sure how well they match up to what they're meant to replace, because like I said, I don't know the kit, but I'm sure many of you will if you've got an interest in Land Rovers. And then lastly we've got this Cushman 53, which is a small kind of moped, very finely printed here. So let's just go on around and try and get these out as well. In fact, I don't think a lot of these are even fixed. Again, it's more about sort of clearing for access as far as the removal initially. But you obviously want to trim around the part first before you start going at the bottoms of the supports, because you'll be putting tension on the fine parts. And when you can get that out, looks like we can just twist our way out of that now. Yep, there we go. So that's the front spokes and wheel. Now that is nice detail. There is bolt detail inside this hub, which is quite far down. Yeah, very nice. It does feel rather delicate, I must admit. Then we've got all the ridges around here. Now I'm not sure how this fits, but I guess it's meant to go on there. And I'm not sure where around this upturned lip it goes, but it is a bit of a tight fit, and I think you'd need to do a little bit of trimming to make that fit properly, because that's now in and I'm not so sure that's how it's meant to look. But those of you who know what this is, I'm sure you'll be knowledgeable on it. So here we've got some soft, I'm making marks where I'm prodding it. So that's the thing that it says if you get this, it might be uncured resin, so you just want to stick that in the light for a day or two and it should set. So you have a look around where you think it's an issue, there's a bit there as well. So if you just put that in the light, it should all go off. Again, I don't know what's wires and what's not, but if you know the subject, you can go on in and you can get out more of these supports, and then you'll see what you're actually left with. But as a piece, it's extremely nice. So there we are, that's a look at some of this 3D printed accessories and kits from FC Model Tips. Hopefully that is of interest. Oh, we've got FC Modeltrend, FC Model Tips, so something just to be aware of there. It's all the same company. I went direct and was sent these. So you can order direct in the UK. Obviously Europe, they're a Spanish-based company, and I do believe they've got a number of distributors, so it might be worth looking on their website or getting in contact to find out if they've got any distributors in your area. So interesting stuff. I'm not sure on the prices on any of it. Again, something to look at, but this should give you an idea of whether you think it's something you would want to get. You know, it gives you an idea of what the actual parts look like in the hand. So hopefully that's of interest. Doing the best I can on some of these things that I've got no idea what they are, but I need to do the review because we've been sent the stuff. So a little bit different, but hopefully it's of interest. So as usual, let me know your thoughts down below if you have any questions or you got any experience on any of this, or you actually know what this is. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.